One of the greatest women's MMA fighters of all time, the former bantamweight, strawweight, now flyweight. It is Jessica Andrade taking on one of the greatest stories of MMA of all time, Lucky Lauren Murphy. And in this matchup, Andrade fighting up in the rankings, taking on Murphy, who in her last time out beat a former champ in Miesha Tate and got that dub. So if you do look at this one, for Andrade, she was on a lot of people's short list from 2022 of submission of the year. She had that standing guillotine win over Amanda Lemos. She will probably, maybe, be one of the next title challengers at strawweight. And now Andrade, again, goes from that to bouncing up to flyweight, where she was able to beat Cynthia Calvillo in her fight before. Andrade is the best fighter that isn't a champion in women's, well, at least the UFC's women's MMA. It's absolutely wild to see what she's been able to do. The body shot against Caitlin Chookagian, the wins that she's been able to get. She didn't look good against Shevchenko. And her last loss at 115 pounds, I know it's been a little bit of time ago, a split decision loss to Rose Namajunas.
She roughed her up in the third round of that fight, though.
She did do some good work in that one. So for Andrade, I know it's 3-2 in the last 5 fights. You consider the level of competition that she's had, but you look at it, I mean, she's 14-7 since she debuted in the UFC in 2013. She's got 5 performance bonuses, 4 fight of the night bonuses, and for Lauren Murphy, she has 1 bonus in her UFC career. It was way back in 2016. It was a fight of the night against Matt's favorite fighter. You know what it is?
I do.
Kelly Fascholtz. Way back when. Remember when?
Is a weird fight. And this, do you agree with me on this? This is how I want to start it. Jessica Andrade in any other sport is a Hall of Famer.
I think she's a Hall of Famer. I actually have
That's
that
my
in my notes.
So my thing about Andrade in the UFC Hall of Fame is that the UFC Hall of Fame very much feels like a popularity contest. Think about Uriah Faber, for instance, who has done great things for the sport. But Uriah Faber, the large portion of his success was had in the WEC, and then he was more well known for his rivalries and more of his star potential in the UFC. If we're just going off accolades, Jessica Andrade has beat the #1 contender in the bantamweight division, Raquel Pennington. I know they've split fights, but still, she has a win over the #1 ranked bantamweight, a fighter who has fought for the title, and she's only lost to people who have held titles other than that. That's kind of an insane run that Jessica Andrade has been on as of late. And the fact that she is basically the #1 contender of 2 different divisions, like, Andrade can walk into a title fight whenever she wants to against Valentina Shevchenko. And I know the first time around it didn't go all that well for her, but I'm going to sit here right now and tell you this. She's the only person in the top 15 who's really going to have competitive fights against Valentina.
I think Manofiato beats her.
You can think that, but going into the fight, Valentina would still be a big favorite, I would say. And I know Santos was able to show a little bit more, and Valentina's becoming more human. I'm just saying, Andrade's skill for skill is one of the few fighters going up against Valentina Shevchenko that I would still get excited for if they did end up doing the rematch, even though, like I said, their first fight didn't go well. But again, if you want to break down Andrade, this is what I've always felt is her X factor. I know she's a good power puncher. She is extremely physically strong. What's that aspect of fighters' games that they don't normally have when they have those 2 parts? Her cardio is pretty good, and that's the wild thing about Andrade. Not only can she throw with power, with output, she has the cardio to go along with it, not only in 3-round fights, but in 5-round fights too. Like, remember when she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk all those years ago? I know Joanna was doing a very good job at hitting her with a lot of volume early, but as that fight went on, Jessica Andrade was getting closer and closer and closer, and even with Rose in their second fight, I know she lost, but by the 3rd round of that, she had Rose's face all busted up, her eye was a mess. I just think for Andrade, this to me is almost like a stay busy kind of fight, and Lauren Murphy might be coming off one of the better wins of her career. That Miesha Tate win is one of those wins that's like, hey, don't forget about me. I am still one of the top fighters in this division. I just don't know if Miesha Tate was a fighter who is still necessarily at the same stage of her career that Andrade is.
And I mean, Murphy, she was on that 5-fight win streak before she fought for the title, and the title fight didn't go all that well, but then she goes out there against Tate, and it was almost like Calvin Kattar after Holloway before he fought Chikadze. Y'all must have forgot. 2 judges
second half
had it 30-27 for Murphy in that matchup, and Murphy trains at a great gym to get ready for a fight like this. Genesis Training Academy, pound for pound Muay Thai, up at elevation, Miranda Mavericks there. You also have Claire Guthrie. You have JJ Aldrich. You have Rose Namajunas. So a couple, or not even a couple, a lot of really good fighters to train with to get ready for Jessica Andrade. People that have experience with Jessica Andrade. And again, she also trains at home at Heritage Muay Thai. That's Eve Edwards. That's Matt Schnell. Those are people that are going to get you ready specifically for somebody like Jessica Andrade. If you look at it from total opponent UFC record, from the people that they fought, that they beat, that they've lost to, all of their accumulated just UFC records. For Lauren Murphy, 33-22. For Jessica Andrade, 74-26-1. It's not even close that way. And Andrade is only 31, and Lauren Murphy now 39. Now, Lauren Murphy's not your average 39-year-old. And she hasn't taken that kind of like beat down damage that some other
Right.
39-year-olds would have, like a Tim Means or like a Matt Brown.
But what's Lauren Murphy known for? She does show a lot of swelling in her fights, and especially if she does get hit by a lot of volume. And not that Andrade is going to go out there and really pepper the jab in her face to try to get that swelling, but if you're known as being a hittable fighter, and that's what Lauren Murphy is now, luckily, she can dig deep, make it an ugly fight, and use that clinch work. Those are all areas where Jessica Andrade not only can have success in, I would say she excels in all those areas. And the thing about Andrade, too, her takedowns are insane. Like, you would never teach a wrestler, like, hey, watch Jessica Andrade's tape and then do what she does. But those, like, one-legged, full-body presses where she just slams chicks on their head, like, those are legit damaging takedowns.
And for Murphy, again, like, I thought the fight that she had against Lilia Shakarova, who just landed into USADA issues after that fight against Murphy, and we haven't seen since, was a very accredited grappler, same types of takedowns as Jessica Andrade, and Murphy was able to go out there and whoop, just flip that right around on her. So we'll see what happens coming up this weekend. Matt, Tapology votes, surprise to us, they are to you. The former strawweight champ, Jessica Andrade, I assume that she's favored on her Instagram poll. It's not very close. I'm going to say over under 87.5% Andrade.
I think it will be over, but can I throw up the only red flag that does concern me in this matchup? The way that Andrade fights reminds me a lot of like the way Allen Iverson played basketball. And I've said this before. When you rely on your athleticism and your strength to its fullest of capacities, the second you start to lose that, any of it at all, it affects everything you do in your game. Luca has said this many times. I don't have to be athletic. Really athletic guys make mistakes. If I'm just perfect at the fundamentals, you don't really have to be that crazy athlete. For Andrade, she will leave openings with her striking. It's just her power is so overwhelming that no one can really stand up to it. But when they do, a la Shevchenko, we can see what happens on the other side of it. So I will throw that up there. I feel like with Andrade, when she does get old, it might just happen overnight, even though she is only 31. I just feel with her style of fighting, it really does rely on her athleticism.
Topology votes, 1,008 of them, 95% Andrade, 68% by knockout for the 5% that are Murphy, 63% by decision. On our Instagram, 86% have Andrade to get the win. I have Andrade in this matchup. I think the takedowns, the ground and pound are a big thing. But it might sound contradictive a little bit. With Lauren Murphy being the older fighter, she's been able to have this career longevity based on that finesse and those skill sets. So for Murphy, as this fight wears on and in certain pockets, she can have a lot of success. I just do kind of lean on the fact that Andrade's been able to do it against some of the highest level athletes in not one division. Not two divisions, but three divisions. So for me, I do have Andrade in the matchup here.
She beat Rose Namajunas by slamming her on her head for the title. Like, Jessica Andrade's about this life. She is one of the most violent pound-for-pound fighters in the UFC, be it with submissions or with knockouts. Like, if you want to see a finish in a fight, just watch Jessica Andrade, because she goes in there trying to win and not trying to get it to go to the judges' scorecards. I have her in this matchup, but I do think Lauren Murphy's just durability is really going to help her in this matchup. Now, that might be a bit of a double-edged sword at a certain point, but I said it before. I think Andrade is a deserving Hall of Famer. In baseball terms, she'd have like 85 WAR. But I think it'll be a fun fight.
Both of us going with Andrade to get the win. Magny versus Burns coming up next at welterweight. You're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.